Hi everyone, in this episode of Quick Tips for your DJI Mini 4 Pro, you're going to learn about satellite signals. You're going to learn how to determine your actual remaining flight time or the best way to figure out your remaining flight time. You'll learn if using your camera affects your flight time at all. And you may actually be surprised by the results of this test that I did today. And then finally, I hope to bring a little more clarity to the subject of flying your drone in extreme warm temperatures. Like this year, we're having some of the highest temperatures that we've ever had in the United States. And I know a lot of people are probably wondering, can I fly my drone when it's that hot out? So we're going to talk about that just a little bit. Now, when you first start up your Mini 4 Pro, or any other DJI drone for that matter, it always takes a minute or so for the drone to acquire an adequate number of satellite signals to have a strong GPS connection. And somewhere between 10 and 15 satellites, it will let you know that it has locked on, and it tells you that it has a GPS signal. Now, is there any benefit to waiting longer to have more satellite signals acquired before you launch your drone? The answer is no. Once your drone has determined the home point, you can confidently begin flying your drone. You don't have to wait. It's not going to perform better if you have more locked on. Once you get that home point locked on, you can launch your drone. Yes, it does give you a warm, fuzzy feeling to look down on your screen and see that you have 26, 28, 30 satellites locked on. But as long as when you click on that little satellite in the upper right-hand corner of your screen and it says strong GPS signal, you are good to go. You don't have to wait to launch until that number gets really high. Now, this next tip is a real quick one, but this right here shows you the remaining flight time as your drone is airborne. And it's an indication of approximately, and I say approximately, how much time is left before the battery runs out of power. Now, this is a general guide, and it does fluctuate. It depends on many things: altitude, flight speed, and more. If you fly faster, you're going to see that number go down. If you just hover your drone, that number is going to go up, and so on. And to be quite honest, it really doesn't tell you anything of use. So I don't use that at all, and I recommend that you don't use this as your guide for when you need to bring your drone back to you. It's actually best to watch your battery percentage on your screen. And when that starts to get pretty close to 20%, you're going to want to start bringing your drone back to you. It's a much more accurate and safe way to determine when you should start flying back towards your home point. Now, one thing to note, if you get to the point where you're out pretty far and your drone tells you return to home's gonna start and you cancel that, I wouldn't ignore that, you guys. A lot of people just ignore it. They continue to fly, and then they'll get themselves in a situation where they're getting down to 10%, and then your drone's gonna try to land by itself, and it's gonna land wherever it is. Now, you can override that. You can still control it a little bit. You can keep it off the ground by holding the stick up, and you can still move it forward and side to side. So if you're in an area where there's some obstacles, it's not going to be able to get around, like, you're pretty much screwed. So when the return to home says it's going to come back home, start bringing your drone back. You don't have to do it immediately or let it kick in right away. Just be very, very vigilant about bringing your drone close to you, because you don't want to get into that stressful situation where it's starting to land by itself, because it's happened to me a few times, and it is very stressful, and you want to try to avoid that. Now, speaking of battery life, have you ever wondered if your flight time is affected while you're recording videos and flying, or when you're taking a bunch of photos and flying? Like, does the camera use affect your flight time? Now, I did a test with video recording many years ago with my original Mavic Pro, and the results showed really there wasn't any difference. I think the time was just a little bit different between recording with video and not recording anything. So I haven't tested it since then. So I did it today with the Mini 4 Pro, and then I added just another variable to see if using your drone camera decreases your flight time at all. Okay, so I haven't done this test in about 6 years, a comparison between the battery life, the flight time, when recording with a video or when not recording or taking photos or anything. So I ran it with the Mini 4 Pro today. The first one I did a control, and I just put the Mini 4 Pro out at 100 feet. I flew about 16 miles per hour. I put cruise control on and just, flew around in a circle from 100% down to 20%. And I got almost 26 minutes, about 25:50, I think. and then I wanted to see what the flight time was recording in 4K 60. So everything else was the same. I think it was a little bit windier. It was gusts up to 27 miles per hour, where the first test it was 25 at 100 feet high. Same thing, same area, same height, same speed. Everything was the same. And I got about a minute and a half more when I was recording video. That was the result. And then I also had never done this test before, but I wanted to see what would happen if I was doing like timed photos while I was flying. So I just set the time photo setting to take a photo every 2 seconds while it was flying that same route. Okay, same conditions, same area, same speed, same height and everything. And I got the same result, like same as, you know, recording 4K 60. So it was about a minute and a half more than not doing anything. So I was really surprised by that, because when I did the test before years ago, there was no difference. It was exactly the same, recording or not recording, but I never did the photo test before. But that's pretty interesting that I got a better result when I was using the camera. So that goes to show you that if you're worried about, you know, reduced flight time while you're recording or taking photos, it doesn't affect your flight time one bit. Now, one thing that I did notice is when I was doing the photos, the time photos, is that the drone, when it was in cruise control, slowly started to decrease in altitude. That was really strange. So, you know, I started at around 100 feet, and after about, I don't know, every 2 minutes it dropped probably 5 feet. So I had to continuously move it back up just to try to keep that consistent. But I thought that was kind of interesting. I'd never seen that before, and I'm not sure why that's happening. If you do know, put that in the comments. So bottom line is, battery life is not affected by using your camera. If you're using an intelligent flight mode, like, you know, a hyperlapse or maybe some kind of active track or anything like that, I think that's going to probably affect your battery life more. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about today, as the United States is experiencing one of the most significant heat waves in years, you might be wondering if it's safe to fly your drone when it's that hot outside. Does it affect your flight performance, or does it cause battery issues? Like, is your drone going to drop out of the sky because it gets too hot? The short answer is no. There are no concerns when flying your DJI Mini 4 Pro or any other drone for that matter in hot weather. Now, that being said, if you leave your drone sitting in the hot sun or on hot pavement for a long time and you let it idle, then the drone possibly will give you a warning that says it's too hot to fly. Take it to a cool place, let it cool down. If it does happen, do what it says. Put it in the shade, you know, put it somewhere cool, at least room temperature, let it cool down a little bit, and then you'll be able to launch. Once you can launch, your drone is fine. The drone will cool itself. Now, I should mention that you do want to store your batteries in a cool, dry place if you want them to last as long as possible. But if it's 95, 105 degrees outside and you want to fly your drone and it lets you launch, go right ahead. It's going to be fine. So do you have any suggestions for more quick tips videos? Let me know in the comments and I'll do a video on them. Subscribe on your way out of the video today. Hit that thumbs up button if I helped you out in any way today. Have a great day, and as always, fly safe and fly smart.